Want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. This was the first game of a three-game West Coast trip. Pistons' first game was against the Denver Nuggets. When I just want to read you guys the Denver Nuggets injury report going into this game, because you're probably looking at the final score and saying like, how is this only a 2-point victory? Because they had several guys out tonight. They've had a lot of injuries, including Nikola Jokic. But this is who Denver had out: Christian Braun, he was out, left ankle sprain. Aaron Gordon, hamstring strain. He was out. Cameron Johnson, right knee bone bruise. Nikola Jokic, left knee bone bruise. Tamar Bates, left foot surgery. Jamal Murray, Jonas Valanciunas, and Peyton Watson were all probable for this game, but man, they had so many injuries. This was a game, going into the first quarter, a lot of energy from Asar Thompson defensively, playing the passing lanes. He was just diving for loose balls, just being like the disruptor that we know that he is. The Pistons played with great pace, running up and down the court. Javonte Green's impact off the bench, I thought, was amazing, especially in that first quarter. Had 6 points off the bench. Bench unit came out aggressive. Ron Holland, Stu, all those guys were playing with a lot of energy, and you love to see that because the previous two games before that, the Pistons were playing with really low energy. They weren't really bringing it in the first quarter, but they were able to end that first quarter on a 10-2 run to have a 31-18 lead. Going into the second quarter, Ron Holland was just crashing the glass, made a three. He was just kind of played his way into more second quarter minutes. Now, I fully expect when the Pistons were up 18, I was like, maybe this is a night where they can take care of business. This team's very injured, but that was not the case. Denver did not go away. I think what really surged Denver to come back later in the second quarter was they had 3 straight possessions where they were running in transition. There was one with Bruce Brown, one with Peyton Watson, and they were very long rebounds from the Detroit Pistons, mid-range and 3-point shots. But they got that 18-point lead down to a 6-point lead. The Nuggets were doubling Cade Cunningham, which we'll get into Cade a little bit later. I thought he did a really good job of taking care of the basketball tonight, but they were able to, get this game within reach going into halftime. Pistons still were able to sustain a lead 52-46. 2 out of 18 from 3 in 24 minutes of play. I think we all know that the Pistons are not a good 3-point shooting team, but they did settle for a lot of threes. I thought they were very fortunate to be able to keep their lead. Good thing they were up 18 because the Nuggets probably would have had a lead going into halftime. Coming out of half, Pistons came out really aggressive. And I think that's something that I was looking for from this team. I was looking for them to, punch first. You don't want the Nuggets to have all that momentum and punch first, and then you're just kind of having an uphill battle with the team that's very wounded right now. Their only main real scoring option was Jamal Murray and Jonas Valanciunas tonight, and Peyton Watson did a couple good things, but he's a really good player. Nuggets just wouldn't go away, man. They kept this game within reach. Felt like it was just like a game where it was just like a 6 to 5 point lead. And even though the Pistons had a 13-point lead at one point in the third quarter, they just kept hitting 3-point shots. Former Piston Tim Hardaway Jr. Had some good takes. Jamal Murray had some good takes, but I want to give a shout to Jaden Ivey. I thought he had a very good third quarter. Hit some really timely 3-pointers. Hit one that was like 30 plus feet away late. And then he had a buzzer beater to end the third. But got to give Jaden Ivey a little shout out for hitting his shots. And got to praise him when he does have a good game. Got to call it down the middle as well, though. You guys know that I'm not biased with my coverage on this podcast, but going into the fourth quarter, Tobias post-ups, man, Uncle T, man, he was just in his bag tonight. Had over 20 points for the Pistons. Pistons energy and ball movement, I thought in the start of the fourth quarter was excellent. I really just loved the reads, loved the passes, loved just the way that they were moving the ball from side to side and looking for players that were cutting to the basket. Nuggets surged back again, not surprisingly, surging back into this game. If I want to nitpick on a win, and this is the one nitpick thing that I wasn't a fan of. I don't know about you guys. We took Asar Thompson out last like 4 minutes of the game, and Duncan Robinson was guarding Jamal Murray. He was getting switched on Jamal Murray several times within the last 4 minutes of this fourth quarter. Obviously, Javonte Green was the primary defender. They kept looking for switches with Duncan. I don't really like going away from Asar Thompson. Wasn't really in foul trouble. I thought he had a very good game, had a lot of steals in this game, but having Duncan on him was definitely a choice. It didn't come back to bite you in the ass. If Jamal Murray does make his free throws, it's probably a different outcome. Also, the Jamal Murray fouls I thought were BS, if you ask me. I thought the 1-3 where he kicked his leg out, that wasn't really a foul. It could have been an offensive foul. Pistons couldn't challenge it because they were out of timeouts. And then again, with 0.7 seconds, kind of puts up a prayer, another foul on Javonte Green, and he misses his free throws. But you're able to squeak one out in Denver, 109-107. Chest pains, you guys. Chest pains. Like, that's just it's crazy. I called this team last year the Cardiac Kids, just because they'd have games like this where it would just be down to the wire, like possession by possession. You're just hoping they can score. But as JB said, the Pistons like to play with the chaos. They do a better job of controlling the chaos this year, like he's mentioned in previous press conferences. But, man, hell of a game, hell of a gutsy win to start off your West Coast trip. You got Phoenix next in a couple of days. They'll be without Devin Booker. But, going into this game, looking at the lines on FanDuel, the Pistons were actually a 6-point favorite going into this game. So Vegas thought that this game would go down to a couple of possessions. It was only a one-possession win by the Pistons in this one, but it's a win. It's a win. You get your 34th win. Again, the game was just a seesaw game, a game of runs, but, man, what a game. I do want to get into the box score. We'll go over that, and then we'll open up the show to comments and questions with you guys. I see a lot of you guys just dropping comments, leaving your thoughts after this crazy West Coast trip against the Denver Nuggets. Getting into the box score, Tobias Harris, like I mentioned, was really crucial in this Pistons win. In 31 minutes, he dropped 22 points, 10 out of 15 from the field, perfect from the free throw line, 2 out of 2, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. He was a +6 in the plus-minus. Duncan Robinson in 23 minutes had 2 points that didn't come into the fourth quarter, and it was a dunk. He was 0 for 8 from 3, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He was a +4 in the plus-minus. Jalen Duren in 30 minutes had 14 points, 6 out of 10 from the field, 2 out of 4 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 1 steal, +5 in the plus-minus. Cade Cunningham in 36 minutes, 22 points tonight, 9 out of 17 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, 3 out of 4 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 11 assists in this one, you guys. And the one thing that I like looking at this is 0 turnovers by Cade Cunningham. He's doing a much better job of taking care of the basketball. It was a +1 in the plus-minus. Asar Thompson in 20 minutes played tonight had 14 points. 5 out of 7 from the field, perfect from the free throw line, 4 out of 4, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 5 steals. Almost had a career high in steals tonight, 1 block. He was a +14. He led the entire team in plus-minus tonight. Isaiah Stewart off the bench, 20 minutes played, 7 points, 3 out of 7 from the field, 1 for 1 from the free throw line, 2 rebounds, so -7. Ryan Holland in 23 minutes was 4 out of 7 from the field, 2 out of 4 from 3, hit 2 3-pointers tonight. As of late, he's been hitting more threes, and you love to see that from Ron. Obviously, he's not shooting a good percentage for the year, but I think you're starting to see a trend with him getting more confident in his three-point shot. Also had 3 rebounds, 3 turnovers, 2 steals. He was a -8 in the plus-minus. Javonte Green in 19 minutes off the bench had 10 points, 3 out of 6 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover. It was a -3. Jaden Ivey, 18 minutes off the bench, 8 points, 3 out of 8 from the field, 2 out of 6 from 3, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover. He was a +3 in the plus minus. He was the only player off the bench that was actually a positive in the plus minus. So take that the way you guys want to take it. Danish Jenkins didn't score, had a rough shooting night, but was still able to impact the game. Had 3 assists, 1 rebound, and he was a -5 in the plus minus for the Pistons tonight. Getting into the team stats, this was a game where the Pistons did not shoot too well from 3, as you guys can see, only 19%, 6 out of 31 from 3. They shot 47% collectively for the game, making 44 out of 94 attempts. Free throws, they were much better, 15 out of 18 from the line, 83%. Had 41 rebounds. Nuggets out-rebounded them by 8. They had 49. They had 24 assists, 10 steals in this one, 3 blocks, only 7 turnovers. I love to see that. They really took care of the basketball against Denver. I love to see those low turnover nights, and a night like tonight where it was only a 2-possession game, it was so crucial to take care of the basketball. Pistons also had 64 points in the paint. We know that's kind of a staple of this team. And no technical fouls or flagrant fouls. And you just love to see a good, clean game by the Pistons where they're not having any ticky-tack fouls. But I do want to kind of get into the Q&A of this podcast. We're just going to take a quick break. I'm going to go through the live chat on YouTube, start a couple of your guys' questions, comments, overall thoughts. If you're brand new here, you want to leave a comment in the live chat, watching live on YouTube right now. We're going to have our Q&A segment of the podcast. It's an open forum. So whether it's about tonight's game, whether it's about the trading deadline coming up, definitely leave any types of comments that you do have. But we're just going to, go through these questions in the live chat right now. We'll be right back, you guys. Okay, you guys, we're back. We're going to get into the Q&A of this podcast and then probably wrap this up, maybe go another 10 to 15 minutes at the most. So the first comment of this post-game show comes from Mark Q. He said the Pistons may have not played great all the time. I'll give you that. However, I love the resolve. Yeah, I mean, when you have nights where you're not shooting particularly the best from the outside, I think this team most nights finds different areas to win. And we kind of noted that, like, this is a team that loves to live in the paint. They love to dominate the paint on both ends of the floor, offensive and defensive. So this is a team that has an identity and they stick to it. Obviously, you'd like them to shoot better from the outside, but I think we all know when we have enough data, we're at the halfway point of this season where this is just not a good three-point shooting team. They don't have the same type of three-point snipers as they did last year, but they don't give up. They find ways to scrap and stay in games, and that's just something that we expect now. Being under JB Bickerstaff as the head coach of this basketball team. Wes Weaver, this game showed Tobias's worth. I think when you're able to have Tobias in the post, you kind of see just his worth. Like, felt like I was just kind of watching like some like Dirk tonight with this Tobias and him getting those post ups. He hit one in the fourth that was so huge, so crucial on the stretch when the Pistons really needed a bucket. But yeah, when Tobias has 20-point outings, the Pistons are going to be hard to beat on most nights. He really stepped up. And again, like once you kind of like give him post touches, I think that's where he's at his best. I feel like he's our best post player. Him and Cade Cunningham, I feel, have the best post moves on this basketball team. But you needed all 20 points from Tobias tonight. 22. Don't want to short change him by his 2 points. But yeah, 22 by Tobias, really crucial down the stretch. And I agree, Wes. You see his worth as a veteran in the starting lineup. Got a comment from Richard. Says their 3-point shooting needs to be addressed at the trade deadline. I 100% agree, Richard. I think if Trajan and the Pistons do anything, I think they have more than enough evidence and more than enough data to say, okay, this isn't the same 3-point shooting team as last year. Duncan Robinson is our only consistent high-volume 3-point shooter. We need to find a reliable 3-point shooter off the bench. Like if you could have Duncan Robinson in the starting lineup and another 3-point specialist off the bench to play alongside a Danish Jenkins, and Isaiah Stewart, and Ryan Holland, I think that would really help this team win more games, obviously, help them in the playoffs for sure. I would kind of be greedy. Maybe I want 2 3-point shooters, maybe some playmaking too. I don't know if that can all be addressed at this deadline. Ideally, maybe it's a 3-point shooter and a playmaker. 2 players off the top of my head I thought of were Kobe White from the Chicago Bulls and Malik Monk from the Sacramento Kings. I think both of those guys can facilitate. They're good playmakers and they're pretty good 3-point shooters. Obviously, you're going to have to, probably part ways with some, draft capital and maybe some young players. But I mean, I think where you're at, there's obviously a window right now in the East where I feel pretty confident that this team can get out of the first round if they do address 3-point shooting and a little bit of playmaking. But I 100% agree, Richard. Like you have to address 3-point shooting at this deadline if you want to be playing deep in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And we've seen like this team is favored to make it out of the East by a lot of sports books and a lot of people that are, predicting the Pistons and the Celtics to, possibly be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, or the Pistons and the Knicks, which wouldn't that be fun? I'd love that rematch. But we'll have to wait and see. I can't wait to see what happens with Trajan and the Pistons at this deadline. I'm really anxious as we get closer. Like it's the 27th as we're recording this podcast. Deadline's on the 5th, so I'm itching to see what happens. We get new trade rumors each and every day of who could be dealt, who's staying and who's not. I have a comment about Cade Cunningham. It's a question. Why is Cade only scoring 22 points? He's supposed to be a superstar. He should be scoring 25 to 30. Before that, he scored 12 points on the Rockets. Cade needs to step up. So I do want to kind of answer this question because it's more of a 2-part question. Why did Cade only have 22 points? I think why he only had 22 points in this one is Denver did a very good job of blitzing him and trapping him. Now, Cade obviously finished the game with a double-double. He was looking to set his teammates up. I think on any given night, Cade can give you 30 if he really wants to score 30. The game against the Rockets, where he had 12 points, I think we've touched on it. We've talked about it. He had a sleeve. I shouldn't even call it a sleeve. It was like a mildly wrapped tape job from the medical staff on his wrist. He bruised his shooting hand. I don't know if it's 100% healthy. He said last post game with Natalie Kerwin that it's feeling better. Don't know where his wrist is at in terms of how he's feeling or if it's 100% healthy. I'll take a 20-point performance from Cade if it does kind of lead to wins. I don't really think you need him to score 25 to 30 every night to win basketball games. But the 12-point performance, I would just kind of attribute that to him not being 100% healthy. But he said last post game that he's feeling a little bit better. T said every team looks for Duncan on the switch. Yeah, I mean, if you've been watching these games all year, a lot of teams hunt Duncan out defensively because they know he's not a good defender. The Nuggets were doing that exclusively in the fourth quarter with Jamal Murray. They were trying to switch Javonte Green off, and then Duncan Robinson was just kind of like the tagger. Or the second primary defender. But yeah, I mean that's a thing that I can see getting exposed in the playoffs, where a lot of teams are just going to try to switch Duncan on every possession that they can just to have an advantage. But I think you just have to pick your poison. We know that he's not a good defender, but he's been pretty red hot recently in just scoring and 3-point shooting. Tonight, obviously, he only scored 2 points, didn't really look that great, didn't hit a single three, even though he did attempt 8. I don't really expect him to, drop 2 points the next game against Phoenix. I expect him to have a bounce back game against a team that the Pistons have already seen. But yeah, I mean, defensively, we know what we're getting. Very similar to Tim Hardaway last year when he was in the starting lineup, where a lot of teams were switching onto Tim because they knew he wasn't a good defender. Larry Jackson, this is a good win on the road against a 30-win team. People complaining we should have won by more, but remember when we had K. Dern and others out and beat teams. Good win. Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why so many Pistons fans were maybe a little bit nitpicky with this win, Larry, is considering how many players Denver has out, and kind of like it was just basically Jamal Murray and Peyton Watson and a majority of Denver's bench. You still got this win. It's just nitpicky at this point. I think you probably could have won more down the stretch if Asar was out there, but that's just me. I don't know about you guys, but this is my opinion. RVK has a comment about closing with Duncan over Ivy. If he's not hitting his shots, he serves no other purpose. Ivy was playing solid D throughout. JB continues to rely on his vets heavily. That's just kind of like a JB thing. Like I think he's just to the point where he's relying on his vets. Duncan most nights has been the Pistons' best 3-point shooter, but I agree. Like if he doesn't have the shot falling, why not explore like a Jaden Ivey, who had hit 2 big crucial 3-point shots in the third, had a nice block on Tim Hardaway to start the fourth quarter. I thought Ivey was playing pretty well. I mean, you also have Marcus Sasser on the bench. You also have Chaz Lanier on the bench that you didn't decide to play tonight, but he does put faith in the vets. That's just something that he's been known to do even back to his Cleveland days. But hey, man, it's just nitpicky at this point. But hey, we'll take it. A win's a win right now. But there are some things I think the Pistons can clean up. DJ Billy Bob, turnovers and points off turnover points in the paint is how we win. We can't hit threes. Duncan and Danis just 0 for 4, and we still win. Yeah, I mean, like most nights, like you're just gonna live in the paint, and that's something that we've kind of just grown to, love and expect out of this team. But yeah, I mean, forcing turnovers, capitalizing on the opposing team's turnovers is how the Pistons have won these games. That's how they've kind of just been able to have all the success that they've had this season. But yeah, I mean, I think most nights you're not going to have Danis and Duncan go 0-4 and not score a single point. Want to kind of get into more comments and questions. THJ would look good in the Pistons uniform again. I 100% agree. I was kind of surprised that we didn't at least bring him back. And I know Trajan kind of touched on why he didn't bring him back, because he wanted to give Jaden Ivey more opportunities this year. I don't think Trajan could foresee Jaden Ivey having arthroscopic surgery. But, I like THJ, love his time here. He's on a 1-year veterans minimum. Maybe he wants to come back this summer. Not really entirely sure. But he's going to be playing in the playoffs with the Denver Nuggets. It'll be interesting to see how far Denver does go in the Western Conference. And you got some former Pistons and Bruce Brown and THJ on that team. But hey, man, always like seeing him. He's a really good dude. And shout out to his dad, Tim Hardaway Sr. and Lindsey Hunter. They have a pretty cool podcast you guys should check out. Doug does have a question, or more of a comment. Appreciate you doing these post games this late. Like you, I hope they get at 2 players next week that could help 3-point shooting or playmaking. Well, I appreciate your comment, Doug. And yeah, man, like if the Pistons do anything at this deadline, just get some more 3-point shooters. I'm not really expecting them to go all in and make a big splash. I'm not. If they do, I'd be very surprised. I'd be the first one to tell you how surprised I am. I'd probably do an immediately live reaction podcast if they like win all in for like a Trey Murphy or a Jaren Jackson Jr. or somehow convince the Nets to trade them Michael Porter Jr. without giving up multiple first. I'd be very surprised. But yeah, I really hope they do attack this deadline, use that trade exception that they do have to get more 3-point shooting. Nuggets win this game with Jokic in. Yeah, I think it's a completely different game. The Pistons do play the Nuggets, I believe, next week. Jokic should probably be back sometime around next week when we do see the Denver Nuggets at home in Detroit at Little Caesars Arena. So that'll be a really good match to see how the Pistons play Nikola Jokic. He's just such a problem for so many opposing teams. But it'll be interesting to kind of see how do we fare with a Dalton Connect. Personally, Wes, Dalton Connect can shoot the hell out of the ball, but I think it's very telling that he can't really get any burn off of JJ Redick's bench. Really good shooter, abysmal defensively, like really bad defensively. I think we have one of the better Tennessee shooters in Chaz Lanier. I think Chaz Lanier is actually a better player than Dalton Connect. That's just me. Chaz doesn't get a lot of burn off the Pistons bench. I'd like to see him get more minutes personally because I think he's an at least passable defender. We've seen him put the ball on the floor. We've seen him shoot 3-pointers, make 3-pointers when he's out there with the Pistons. But maybe we'll see a little bit more Chaz in the second half of the season. I'm probably going to wrap this podcast up, you guys. I do appreciate you, watching me at midnight after this Pistons win. We'll be doing post-game podcast for this entire West Coast trip. So the next post-game podcast will be against the Phoenix Suns and then the Golden State Warriors. And then we have a Sunday game against the, I want to say Brooklyn Nets on February 1st. Could be wrong there. Don't remember the full schedule for the week off the top of my head. But again, we'll be doing these post-game podcasts for the West Coast trip, and then when we come back home on Sunday. But I do appreciate you guys watching these and listening to these on the audio side. Hope you guys are staying safe, staying warm. Man, it's been so cold. Looks like we're getting another storm. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.